Good morning, everyone. Okay, so welcome to our webinar with the title, Staying Motivated and Productive for Online Classes. Before we begin, let us take a moment of silence for a short prayer. Father, we are virtually gathered today for this webinar. We thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us during these challenging times. May you honor us with your presence throughout the day. May the goals set today be achieved through your approval. And may you grant your wisdom so that we can learn from this event and become messengers of your word. Amen. Okay, so let me introduce our energetic and knowledgeable speaker for this webinar. He is currently teaching as or employed as a senior high school teacher here at the University of the Cordilleras. He has also been a subject area coordinator of the Social Sciences Department of the Senior High School of the University of the Cordilleras, and he has also been an instructor for the College of Arts and Sciences. Furthermore, he has been a guidance facilitator and teacher of the Don Bosco School of Baguio City of the Elementary School Department. And he has also had previous experiences as an English and ESL teacher. Also, he is currently taking his Master of Science in Guidance and Counseling and Master of Science in Psychology here at the University of the Cordilleras. Moreover, he is a licensed professional teacher and a registered psychometrician. He has been a trainer for multiple seminars, and he has also been a participant in multiple trainings related to teaching and guidance and counseling. Let us all welcome Mr. Ari O'Neil Bisquera.
Hi everybody, good morning. So welcome to this webinar session today. Am I clear? Hello participants.
Yes po.
Okay, thank you very much, Res Aquino III. Thank you. Okay, allow me to share my screen. So when we talk about staying motivated and productive for online classes, this usually starts with ourselves. And when it starts with ourselves, we believe that when it grows and when it becomes a better version of ourselves, we continue spicing up our motivations, our captivations, because there are a lot of avenues that will allow us to unravel or discover something new out of these experiences we are having right now. The COVID-19 pandemic is not actually a hindrance that we will consider, but we will take it as an opportunity for us that learning will still continue, and given the opportunity for us to continue what we really have for ourselves in store. Having that said, this is about it. Why did I choose Google? Google in the first place is originally the name of the search engine, originated from a misspelling of the word Google. Okay, the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. We would understand here that Google on this note refers to a particular numerical value. However, we would signify that it is a search engine that was intended to provide large quantities of information. So in other words, at this point that we are in the comforts of our home, okay, there's a lot of search engines that we are going to use. The search engines that starts within us, the motivations that starts within us, because we are in store of a lot of information that we are bound to learn, we are bound to discover, and we are bound to share as we go along in understanding this webinar that we're going to have today. The webinar that we're going to have today in terms of staying motivated and keeping ourselves productive also will tell us that it takes a lot of courage, a lot of opportunity for us to look inside ourselves and then discover that there are really large quantities of information that we can eventually transform into meaningful knowledge and into eventual wisdom that we can share with one another. That said, okay, just a disclaimer. This is an unofficial usage of the Google logo. However, it is only used for academic purposes only and in no intention to disregard the learning management system utilized by the University of the Cordilleras, that is Canvas. No part of this presentation may be produced, stored in a retrieval system or in any form or by any means, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without the permission of the institution or author or webinar speaker of this presentation. In terms of this webinar, I used actually Google, okay, plus LMS, Google LMS, as an abbreviation of getting started, opening opportunities, owning and growing, gearing directions, living moments, and experiencing meaning of learning anew, and in maintaining captivated so that it will keep you, staying motivated. First and foremost, okay, with all the many platforms that we are using right now in our flexible learning modality, we can use Google Meet. Of course, we have Zoom. Nonetheless, we still have Facebook Messenger. Not disregarding the text messaging and even phone calls would still be possible even with our learning management system in the university, which is Canvas. Because, okay, in understanding all of these platforms or all of these modalities that we can utilize, we have to take note of this. We have to take note that we have to treat the virtual space as an actual classroom of fruitful and meaningful learning. So it is nice that we have to give our best, or so we can be our best. You would see here that in this image that many things get to be interconnected today already. We are in the context that because of the change of the educational landscape, that we are getting connected with the use of our gadgets, with the use of our cell phones, with the use of also of social media. This is the new way of how we get interconnected. But with this new way of getting interconnected, especially in the educational setup or educational landscape, we have to take note and take to the consideration that we are looking at the idea that there are still interconnections within us that we have to strongly consider. What are these interconnections that we have to strongly consider is when we look at the letters of GOOGLELMS. So let's understand further what I mean with this Google LMS. Okay. There's also a part that we miss our considerations of having an intrapersonal communication with ourselves. Also, with talking with our seatmates, or talking with our classmates, or merely being inside the classroom. All of this, okay, all of these are considerations that since there is this drastic change of our educational landscape and educational setup, we will take the consideration that we have to take note also of what is within us, what is within our understandings of how we get motivated, how we get things started, how we get things spiced up so that we continue becoming motivated and we continue sharing what we have, okay, and what we can learn in this landscape that we are in today. That said, okay, let's start with getting started as the first letter of the Google LMS abbreviation. When we talk about getting started, all education is self-propelled. We all have these directions, we all have these pushes and pulls on how we really want to get started in everything that we do. We know that when in everything that we do, it's nice that we come from somewhere. We come from something, and that's where when we come from something and where we come from somewhere, it will tell us that it has to strengthen our capacities to push forward and to pull ourselves to carry out our daily tasks. Okay, as a student, you are considered to be an expert in the art of study. Why in the art of study? Okay, there are considerations and a lot more considerations when we talk about the ability to study. A skill that must be learned, okay? The studying is a skill that must be learned. We consider the techniques, the tricks of your trade to succeed in this important task. The ability to study will tell us that there are a lot of creative ways on how we can get started. Looking at the images below, okay, so there are people who are more interested studying, okay, using their phones. Those who are comfortable using their laptops, okay, with a visual material with them, or such as their books or even their printouts and handouts. There are those also who prefer studying alone, or there are those also who prefer, okay, there are still interactions, okay, whether virtual or personal interactions. However, we know that there is the consideration that we have to observe social distancing and physical distancing, as we mentioned it. Okay, in continuation of getting started, there are different students with different reasons because you yourself are unique as a learner. You have different abilities, you have different intelligences, you have different capabilities and capacities that will allow you to keep yourselves, giving yourselves an idea of what makes you started in everything that you do, especially in this online platform that we are in today. In continuation of that, okay, you must want to learn. There is that driving force in you why you want to learn this new concepts or this new way of getting connected with other people. Who knows? With this new way of getting interconnected with people, this actually strengthens a lot of opportunity for you to create networks and create what's this interconnections, okay, with other people. Even though this is in a virtual environment, the virtual environment will provide you also an opportunity for you that there is something more beyond the corners of your gadget, and there is something more beyond the corners of your gadget. That is, there is that internal force that will drive you to continue and to share what you have to learn because you have the want to learn. Having known what you want to learn, you must know why you learn and why are you in school. If we will ask you at this point already, we are no longer at the point of asking a question, why do you go to school? But instead, it's also in that matter already that we will consider that we have to know why we learn. If I may ask any of the participants to just, give an insight, okay, on why do you have to learn? Why do you think that you have to learn? Jazil, why do you have to learn in order for you to get started? Jazil,
Sir, in order to gain new knowledge.
okay. In order for you to gain new knowledge, thank you, that's right. And in gaining new knowledge, it will give you an opportunity to really get started with what you have. In addition, here is Nina Jesus Barayuga. She says to grow and what I wanna be. Okay, to grow and what you wanna be, my dear Nina Jesusa. Okay, thank you, Jazil, for your response. Nina, you wanna be what? Nina, are you there? Ah, you also want to be a psychologist. How nice, how interesting. So in other words, it's nice that you'd like to, okay, you'd like to participate in such webinar in the transformation of you as a future psychologist someday. How nice to know. Okay. How about uh, Mary Galilee? What about you? Why do you want to learn? Mary Galilee?
Good morning, sir. Is it me, Mary Adicon?
Mary Galilee?
No. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
me. It's not my turn yet.
Okay. Oh, okay, Mary, you could share your ID already. Go ahead.
Well, I want to learn because I want to share knowledge also, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's nice.
I
So it's
mm-hmm.
not only already about learning, but at this time you're telling your fellow participants and in this webinar that you'd like to share also your knowledge. How very interesting. Okay, how about Mary Galilee? Are you there already? Okay, let's get back to Mary Galilee later. If uh, Okay, still to learn new knowledge, but in learning new knowledge and sharing knowledge, we will discover that there are a lot more aside from the considerations of knowledge. Okay, in getting started, also, enrolled in a course, okay, a program, or even a subject. And in that note, it's equivalent to your future. These are actually steps that you are taking, steps that you are molding, and steps that you are actually putting forth in discovering the person you can be later on, not only as a future professional, but also the holistic person that you can be later on. So it's also nice that you look upon yourselves that after this webinar, you might be able to discover that there is something actually inside you, okay, a better version, a developing version, a discovering version of who you can be actually later on. In that consideration, you will not only consider that your grades are measures of your worth, but rather, okay, we consider your grades at this point as a tangible evidence of ability and future performance. And it's a basis of recommendation for all kinds of work. Okay, you do not equate yourselves with your grades, but you equate your grades with the amount of effort that you do, okay, across all opportunities for you to learn, because it's not only about gaining and sharing what you learn, or it's not only also about gaining and knowing what you know, but it's also how you are able to transform this learning or this knowing into something that you're able to understand, so that eventually when you bring it forth to the world already, you are able to do it. What else? We also consider that when you get started in an online class, you have to create a calm and conducive study space. It is really important to have an area designed for your learning, because that will keep you going, that will keep you motivated, that will keep you taking note of the idea that when you know that you have your workstation, you know you have your workspace, you are able to and condition yourself that you have to do this, you have to work on this, and you are in a setup that, like what we mentioned early on, that you have to treat the virtual space like an actual classroom experience. And since you are setting the virtual space like a classroom experience, it's nice really that you set yourself, okay, you start yourself getting motivated by setting up a workspace intended only for your learning environment. You design a routine. You follow a schedule that it will encourage you to stick to or be flexible with it. We know that we have certain issues in terms of our connectivities. We have certain considerations of the gadgets that we are using, or even the platforms that we are using. At this point, the key term here is already flexibility. Because why is flexibility encouraged at this point already? We are open to the many opportunities to discover really that we have a lot of ways in order for us to learn. Later on, with the further parts of the abbreviation of Google LMS that I'm going to share to you, you will see there that it takes really an important role, that you as the driver of your learning, you as the one who is motivating yourself and strengthening yourself to carry on, will actually transform your entire learning experience. We also consider that you make sure that your internet connectivity is stable at that point, because you have to be familiar when internet connectivity lags or hangs. You have to request for assistance from your home whenever applicable. If there are connectivity issues, inform your teacher right away through a text message or a private message in the chat. Okay, so if you know that you have certain difficulties ahead of time, it's nice that you can tell this to your teacher, you inform your teacher or your course facilitator, so that you be guided and you be monitored on how you can progress with the tasks that are going to be assigned throughout the day or throughout the session that has been set to you. It's also nice that you fix the camera's angle. You make it sure that you are fitting, okay, properly within a Zoom square, or even in a Google Meet square, okay, or even with the chat heads that there are, okay, in Messenger. In other words, you make it sure also that the image that you have and the profile that you are using in your academic setup or in your online setup is actually representation of you, because it should not be too high or too low from your angle, and it should fit squarely and fittingly on your screen. Your head and up to your shoulder level is ideal for the angle. That will condition you also that you have to sit up straight, you have to look at the camera, and you have to fit in a Zoom square or a Google Meet square, okay, or even on a chat head in the Messenger. Okay, in continuation, you have to also check on your audio system before classes start. Although we had certain difficulties earlier with the dance video, the desk exercise that I presented earlier, nonetheless, okay, I hope that at this point in time, okay, you have to make sure that your audio is clear, your voice is clear, and you have also checked on the interconnections within your system or within the gadget that you are using, so that it can be fully functional on your end, not only as a participant, but also to maximize your learning experience as you go along. You remove the distractions around you, for example, your cell phones, your pets, or even food that can disrupt your classroom interactions. If necessary, you can use a virtual background to secure your privacy. That's just a suggestion in order for you to assure that you are in a safe space and you are conditioned to really enjoy the learning experience that you are in, because you know that you feel safe and you are safe. It's also nice that you have to wear proper attire. You would feel more motivated and driven to be engaged in the virtual classroom, such as my case right now that I'm wearing the University of the Cordilleras shirt. Okay, it would give us the consideration that, okay, it's as if I'm going inside the classroom and I will present myself in the most beautiful or most handsome way possible. Okay. Furthermore, it's also nice that you have to report to synchronous or asynchronous classes or follow given classroom time or consultation time schedule, logging in at least 10 minutes before classroom time or consultation time, just in time for you to do your setups, okay, to check on your audio, to check if you fit in the Google Meet square or the Zoom square or whatever platforms that there will be. And you're able also to prepare sheets of paper or maybe a copy of your learning materials beside you, so that you be guided as you go along the learning process. And in the learning process, it will take really a lot of encouragement on your end to really take note of what's going on inside the virtual space. Even though there will be asynchronous setups that will be provided to you, it is also nice that you also prepare yourself for other materials, excuse me. okay, other materials, okay, that will help you see the interrelationships and interconnections of what you are actually learning. Even though like what was mentioned earlier by some of the participants, this time it's no longer only about learning new knowledge or sharing knowledge, but actually we will consider already the transformation of that knowledge. It's also nice that you seek permission or upon approval if you can screenshot the presentation or the proceedings of a recorded synchronous classroom time discussion, even though it will be uploaded via the asynchronous class hour. Okay, so in other words, it would really require a lot of participation on your end to let you get started and get you perked up as you go along the learning process also. Next one. In terms of opening opportunities, as you see in the GIF, it starts with opening actually your gadget. And in opening your gadget, attending online classes is a great way of meeting new people and new experiences, including understanding the content of your learning materials. So in other words, it's in the setting that when you open your gadget, it's like opening a door of many million opportunities for you to discover that there's something new. There's something to look forward to, okay, within that session that you're going to have with your course facilitator or your teacher, or even alongside with your classmates. You know that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, this has hampered our interrelationships with other people. But if we will still continue to regard that when we open our gadgets, it's seemingly like opening a portal of getting reconnected and establishing and strengthening connections with other people, and not only with other people, but also with the learnings that will go your way in a session that's set for you in that day. It's also nice that you can reach out to classmates or teachers that will strengthen your networking skills. Who knows? In this opportunity that was given to you to learn something new in terms of staying motivated and becoming productive in an online class, you are able to actually strengthen the interconnections that, wait, learning does not only stop inside the classroom. Learning does not only stop in the corners of your Zoom square or your Google Meet square, but it will also extend to many more opportunities for you to recognize that the learning that takes place in the virtual space is actually helpful for you eventually, especially when you create networking skills or strengthen networking skills rather. Okay. Okay, it relies also on your own responsibility and self-discipline. Later on, let us further understand what is this responsibility and self-discipline, especially in getting along our learning setup today. But one thing we had to consider here in terms of opening opportunities is responsibility has something to do with our responsibility. That responsibility that we are able to actually, okay, we are have the capacity for us to respond. How we are able to respond, we have varied ways of how we are able to interact with other people. And in the various of how we are able to interact with other people, it has to give us an opportunity or open an opportunity for us to create an idea that we are actually recognizing other people. We are recognizing an opportunity for us to get along with other people, even in a virtual setup, or even in a synchronous or in a synchronous setup, okay, that will encourage us also to share our insights or share our valuable time with other people. In terms of the next O, in terms of owning and growing, owning to your pace of learning where today knowledge is at the tip of your fingertips. Look at this. You just registered yourselves in this online webinar, and then there you are able to already take, okay, or be able to partake in a new set of knowledge. And in partaking in this new set of knowledge, you're actually owning and growing to this learning opportunity that you have to yourselves. But we have to take note of this. However, we have to note that knowing is not the same as understanding already. And it's not the same also as doing, however interrelated. Because what matters in the 21st century is not how much you know already, but what you can actually do with what you know. Because that's the transformation of the 21st century today. We have a lot of opportunities for us to maximize and utilize our learning capacities. Okay, and in maximizing our learning capacities, it's interesting that when you own to your learning, you're able to grow with your learning, you're actually doing something what you are learning, especially with what you are knowing. In consideration of that, okay, this is what I was mentioning earlier about independent learning. In terms of independent learning, who is at the same time, you as that independent learner, you are also your own teacher. Because yes, you can be able to set your goals, make choices and decisions about how to meet your learning needs. You take responsibility for constructing and carrying out your own learning. You monitor your progress towards achieving your learning goals and even self-assess your learning outcomes. Because if there is that sense of ownership and growth in your learning capacities, it will provide you insight. Okay, it will provide you a deepening idea also that you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of opportunities and transform them into experiences that can be very meaningful to you. Furthermore, you consider also that independent learning or owning and growing to your learning is the ability to take charge of one's learning. This is according to Holek in 1981. Because you have to be able to make informed choices and take responsibility of your own learning activities that are two facets of learning independently. In continuation of that informed choices and taking a responsibility, other elements would include the motivation and the feeling of confidence of your success of learning. Enough that you will be able to take not only decisions, but you will also take actions that will take place, okay, in your virtual space, and when you use it in actuality, that will be able to help you transform your learning opportunities thereat, because you have to act on them accordingly. You also need to appreciate the value of reflecting of your learning and deciding whether it has been effective. Okay, because that will give you an opportunity for you to really strengthen and recognize, okay, that you have a skill set, you have an ability set that you will be able to utilize later on. Who knows, the learning capacities or the learning opportunities that you have owned and grown upon will give you also an opportunity for you to recognize what you can do and where you can be best at. And with what you can do and where you can be best at, that will lead you to gear directions, okay, across all of your abilities, across all of your opportunities for you to recognize not only your intelligence, but also a chance to study on your own time and your own space. In that consideration, you organize yourself in your time. In terms of remembering, okay, remembering and understanding are actually at the simplest level of our at the lowest level of our cognitive capacities. Remembering and understanding are merely recalling, but when you are able to already lead it to higher order thinking skills such as applying and or analyzing towards evaluating and creating, you are actually already also transforming your learning capacities or your cognitive capacities that will strengthen you in utilization of what you can discover and what you can unravel in the learning process. Okay. Okay. Okay, in that continuation, okay, you have to be able to utilize note taking and even gathering and using information. Okay, when you note take and you gather and use this information, actually you are no longer only putting it at the corners of your class, of your Google Square, your Zoom Square, or even at the corners of your paper. But later on, when you see the interconnections of these concepts, of these ideas, or of these theories, or of these learnings along the way, you will see there that you can utilize them actually to a more holistic recognition of what beautiful world there is, in spite and despite of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's also nice that you go check on these macro skills. It's no longer about only reading, listening, writing, and speaking, but you will also consider that because of what's going on in the onset of technology or in the continuation of technology, you're able to use viewing already as a new macro skill that will help you, okay, that with the recognition of the use of your senses and with the use of your observation powers and all of these skills used to gear directions in owning your time and owning the pace of your learning, you can eventually transform this as you work along with others virtually. Continuing, okay, we have also to consider that you have to live moments. You are here right now. And being here right now would mean that attending online classes is a great way of meeting new people and new experiences. And again, including understanding the content of your learning materials. Okay, the moments that you are in today will actually be fruitful memories that you will have later on. Whether memories that you have to laugh about or maybe give recognition about because you know that something took place there. And what is that something that took place there has something to do with how eventual and how meaningful it is for you along the process of your learning. Okay, it also still includes reaching out to your classmates and strengthening your networking skills. And these moments will actually give you an opportunity for you to strengthen or even to create more interrelationships despite and in spite of interconnectivity issues, or maybe there are technical matters that you have to attend to, but you when you know that you are able to enjoy the moment, be here in the moment, you're able to recognize that something is there. Okay, and that is a beautiful relationship, not necessarily a relationship, so to speak, that between a boyfriend and a girlfriend or something to do with mutualities, but rather we will consider here how you are able to be more humane in dealing with other people because you are experiencing meaning. And in experiencing meaning, okay, it has something to do, okay, still, okay, I am emphasizing about reporting, okay, and give a following giving classroom time or consultation time schedule, okay, in seeking permission, and, and here is a pointer here in terms of experiencing meaning. It's nice that you analyze your strengths, your weaknesses, and even special interests as if your learning is making meaning. It's not only experiencing meaning, but it's making meaning to you as a person. Furthermore, it's also nice that you work out your priorities. How do you work out your priorities? Here are two particular guide questions, okay, guide questions that will help you transform that your learning is actually already and you yourself is experiencing meaning, which need to be addressed accordingly or urgently. Okay, when we talk about these experiences of meaning, which parts of your learning materials, which parts of your learning experiences will give you a sense of urgency that this has something to do with what you can do later on in the next task. And in this next task, you would see there that it actually builds up. And as it builds up, it would tell you that there is actually learning that takes place already as you go along the process. In continuation of that, would you also consider that is there a natural logical order in which to tackle them. So in other words, in the personal level or in the ownership of your learning, okay, you are the designer of your learning pace and even the meaningfulness of that learning pace. And that will eventually help you recognize that you are actually putting meaning and putting effort to what you are learning because you are learning anew. And in learning anew, okay, reaching out to classmates or teachers strengthens your networking skills, which is a necessary skill in the 21st century. As a necessary skill in the 21st century, we are actually talking about here the power of collaboration and corroboration with other people. The power of collaboration and corroboration with other people starts with an actual self effort that you are able to do and you are able to extend to others because you know that you are learning together and you are learning anew. You also have to in that light when you maintain your captivations. Okay, when you maintain your activations in everything that you do, you are actually recognizing an opportunity for you to present yourself in a manner that you are actually helping yourself and eventually helping other people as well. Okay, okay. Because in that regard, okay, the last entry here has something to do with staying motivated. In terms of staying motivated, it's nice that you have to keep a record of what you have done. Further planning and it will also give a sense of achievement as well as provide something to include in a progress file. Later, you will realize how much you have covered and there might be something motivating to discover. What is that? Or who is that? That's yourself and a greater sense of purpose of why you are actually doing these things. This will allow you to perk up and strengthen the experiences that you are having. No matter how difficult, no matter how challenging, or no matter how things really would put at a certain toll upon us, it actually would have to provide us also a recognition of our efforts, a recognition of our hard work, and a recognition of what we can actually transform in our learning opportunities also. Because you have to remember why you started. And in remembering why you started, you would know for a fact that there is something actually that took place along the way of your learning. In that opportunity that has been given to you, no matter what opportunity that is, no matter what challenge that there is, it has actually provided you an opportunity for you to grow, an opportunity for you to glow, and an opportunity for you to go recognize that the learning that took place in you, with you, and even in actually recognizing your capacities and abilities, this has given you an opportunity for you to recognize yourself even further. Okay, let me show to you this short clip also in terms of what is this actually in terms of getting motivated about ourselves. Let me present to you also the locus rule.
A study was conducted in 1998 at Columbia University by a professor, Claudia M. Mueller. She took a large group of fifth graders and had them work on numerous puzzles by themselves. Now, these were very challenging puzzles, but regardless of how well each child did, he or she was told that they scored very well, that they did better than most of the other kids. Afterwards, half of these students were told that they scored high because they worked hard, while the other half were told that it was all because they were smart and gifted. Then they presented each student with three more types of puzzles to work on: easy ones, medium difficulty ones, and extremely challenging ones. And what they found was very interesting. The students who were told that they did well because they were smart spent the majority of their time on the easy puzzles. They spent almost no time on the extremely challenging puzzles and spent much less time overall trying to solve any of the puzzles, which was a sign of lower levels of motivation. And to top it all off, when asked whether or not they enjoyed the experiment, they said that it wasn't that fun for them. On the other hand, the students who were told that they did well because they worked hard spent the majority of their time focused on the harder puzzles. They also spent a lot more time overall attempting to solve any of the puzzles, which was a sign of an increase in levels of motivation. And to top it all off, after the experiment, they said that they actually enjoyed the entire experience. So what can we learn from this study? Well, there's a concept called the locus of control, which is essentially the degree to which you believe you have control over your life. The kids who were told that they did well because they were smart and gifted were led to believe in what's called an external locus of control. They were led to believe that factors outside of what they could control were the reason they did well, right? You can't control whether or not you're born smart. On the other hand, the kids who were told they did well because they worked hard started to believe in what's called an internal locus of control. They believed that it was factors they controlled that led to their outcomes. It was their hard work and their extra effort that allowed them to do well on the puzzles, right? Because how much work you put into something is something that you have complete control over. Now, studies on the locus of control like this one have found time and time again that having an internal locus of control is the key to staying motivated. You must feel like you have control over your life and that you are responsible for the things that happen to you if you want to feel motivated all of the time. I saw this happen with my own eyes back in the day when I was in charge of a sales team. This wasn't retail sales or car sales. This was old school door-to-door sales, which has one of the highest turnover rates. Most people only last a week before quitting. See, you need to be an extremely motivated individual to be able to face hundreds and hundreds of rejections every single day before someone even considers buying something from you. Now, over time, I was able to develop a keen eye for who would actually last, who I should spend more time and energy training. All I had to do was ask a simple question when a new salesperson on my team was confronted with their first bad day, a day in which they made no sales. I would ask them, "Why do you think you made no sales today?" And I would see how they would respond. If they blame things like the weather, the fact that it's a weekend and nobody wants to be bothered on the weekends, or because it was the neighborhood, I would instantly know that they wouldn't last because they had an external locus of control. They believed that the reason they couldn't make any sales was because of factors outside of their control. And because of this, they spent less time knocking on doors, which was ultimately the real reason why they weren't making any sales. That's the curse of having an external locus of control. When you feel like nothing you do matters, you stop working, you stop trying. Because what's the point of trying when the world's conspiring against you, right? So how do we adopt an internal locus of control so that we can start feeling motivated all of the time? Well, they found that the best way to do so is by simply solving problems in your own life and then taking some time and appreciating the fact that it was your actions that solved this problem. I'll give you an example just to make things more clear. Let's say you're someone who struggles with falling asleep. So you go do some research and you find out if you get some more sunlight in the morning, if you only use your bed for sleeping, and if you install a blue light filter on your phone, that should drastically increase your ability to sleep faster when bedtime comes around. You do all of those things, and lo and behold, you find yourself sleeping 15 minutes faster than before. When you notice this improvement, you need to say to yourself, wow, it was because of the changes I made, because of the effort I put in, that I am now able to sleep better. It's that simple. Build up that belief that you are in control of your destiny, that you have an internal locus of control, and you will never have issues with motivation in your life again. This episode is brought to you to help the guys at Skillshare. Skillshare is an
Okay. So that's about the location of how you're able to control and things that you cannot control. So that puts up actually everything that we have actually just learned today.
online learning
Okay.
community for creators with more than
Okay.
25,000 classes in design, business, and much, much more. If there's something
Okay. Wait on. I'll just go to the next slide. Okay. So it's nice that okay, you start every day with a new hope, leaving bad memories behind and having the faith for a better tomorrow. So I hope that through this webinar that we just have had today, this gave you an opportunity that with the struggles that you have today, even though with the opportunities that you have with the experiences that we are having in an online setup. Okay, I hope you take note again of what Google LMS stands for. Okay, that will tell you an opportunity for you. Okay, that you know how to get started. You know that it's actually getting started, opening opportunities, owning and growing. Okay, gearing directions, living moments, experiencing meaning. Okay, learning anew, maintaining captivated, and staying motivated all the time. Okay, thank you very much for participating in this webinar today. Thank you.
Po.
Thank you so much, Sir Ari. Our chat box is now open for questions. Kindly just type them and we will wait for Sir Ari to answer.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Christine. If you have any questions or clarifications, just feel free to ask.
It seems like our participants do not have any questions. I hope that you have understood what Sir Ari. Oh, okay. Okay. There is
Here's
a
one,
question
ma'am.
from Res Aquino III. How do you handle stress within this type of setup, especially sometimes? Mhm.
You're talking about stress management this at this point. So you know what, Res? It's nice that you follow your name. You take periods of rest. Do not overwork yourself. Do not overwork yourself. That say for instance, you have a given time, you have a given schedule, you stick to it. Or as I mentioned earlier, you be flexible to it. You give an opportunity, okay, you give an opportunity for yourself also to take periodical breaks. But when I say periodical breaks or periodical rests, okay, say for instance, when you are given time, at least you give yourself at least 5 minutes to to breathe some air outside your room or outside your learning space there, and then you give also time for you that you know when to pause for a break, you know when to stop, and you know when to go. I hope I have answered your question, Res.
Po.
Okay naman. So you total the third ka naman na ng iyong family. You give yourself time to rest also, kasi nga 'di ba, you know what, the word stressed is close to the word rest also. That allows you to give yourself more energy to continue, and more energy for you to strengthen more yourself, because you are energized, you are perked up when you are able to take some rest for yourself also. Okay, another question from Roan. What to do if sometimes the requirements have become more overwhelming? Like, it's nice that you have diba? It's nice that you have your own progress chart. When we talk about a progress chart, it does not have to necessarily be so elaborate that you have to print it out, you have to decorate it, or you have to be in detail to have so much details in it. But you have to strictly follow the details that you have indicated there. Okay. You take it one step at a time. Take it in the grace that you are actually, there's something in the learning process. Okay, in the learning process that takes place as you go along. So do not, if you feel overwhelmed already, take a look at it. What can you do to transform that material, that you can make it a bit lighter or more convenient in your end, that you can use it actually more effectively and more efficiently in your end. Okay, here's another one from Trisha. Okay, sir, what do you think is the problem if we followed what you've said earlier, but we still are not motivated? You mean if you are, yes, you are taking note of the tips, but you still don't feel motivated? Check on yourself. Remember the last line I mentioned? you remember why you started in the first place. If you remember why you started, and you have a lot of reasons to continue. A lot of reasons to continue would include actually that you get started recognizing what is this for? Why are you learning, 'di ba? What I started with is why are you learning? You mentioned that we are not actually only at that point that you are actually learning or you are actually gaining more new knowledge. What are you going to do with this knowledge? You transform this knowledge. And it will eventually help you, guide you, strengthen you, and provide you more opportunities for you to recognize what there is really for your learning. Because you own to your motivations. Okay, let me check on the other question here. Okay. I hope I have answered your question, Teresa and Roan. Roan, okay naman?
Okay, sir. Another question po from Janet Gakad. Sir, I have a concern
Yes.
regarding in group works. During this ODL, sir, I have group mates who are
Mm-hmm.
not helping in group works, most especially in research po. And I asked her what's the matter or if there's anything I can help. And she said that online class doesn't motivate her, even make her productive. It's like tinatamad na siya. Sir, what actions or advice can I take for them to keep motivated?
Okay. Since you are actually talking already about group work here, especially this is a research task, having been a research teacher myself also, if you allow if you allow that this research process that you are going through will actually work together for you, then you work it out together. But you mentioned here that you asked already what's the matter or what can you do for your classmate in order for that classmate to be helped also. In the first place, try to also why not try to ask the reasons what makes her not makes that classmate not motivated in the first place. What brings her here or him or her to that learning experience, especially when we talk about research. It's actually something for the future. It's something giving you an idea of what you are actually searching for. Kaya nga siya research, di ba? You're searching for something. And who knows that because of that searching for something in the endeavor that you are taking part with will actually let you also help yourself or that group mate search for something that will help him or her recognize what there is in that capacity. Pagtulungan nyo, pag-usapan nyo, you probe more, you ask more. Natag dito, ano ba yung mga parts dito na hindi ka nahihirapan ka, nalilito ka to that point. So that if now that you know, ano yung mga pwedeng action points nyo, 'di ba? O ito, hindi siya motivated kasi okay, kasi pagka sinabi niya lang ay tinatamad na siya, tapos dito, what's this? Sabi niya pa dito, does it online classes does not motivate her or what are this ba? Okay, let your classmate or groupmate elaborate on that statement. And then once you elaborate on that statement, what action points are you going to work on together so that it will be more effective and efficient on your end? Lalo na, that is research. Okay. So, aside from that.
Okay, thank you, Sir Ari, for that wonderful answer. So hopefully you learned something from Sir Ari, saying that you are not alone during these online classes. Okay, thank you, Sir Ari. For the next question from Joanna Marie Apostol. Sir, what if the things or people or ideas that actually motivates us suddenly become the contrary?
Then, pause. Pause for a while, Joanna. Okay, pause for a while. Do not rush yourself that, teka, bakit biglang umiba ang mga plano? You remember the concept of flexibility? Hindi flexibility in terms of physical flexibility, ha? Okay, but what we're talking about flexibility here is you are open to the opportunity that there are 25 more letters in the alphabet. If plan A does not work, then you still have plan B to Z to work out and carry out accordingly. Diba? You open opportunities. Teka, ano yung part dito na hindi nag-work sa plan A? Bakit kaya? Ano ang mga pwede kong gawin para ma-meet ko ang iba ko pang plans? Pero if plan B also goes contrary to plan A, which is more effective and more efficient on your end? You weigh ends. Diba? So when you weigh ends, you take note that weighing ends will tell you that there are pros or good points, there are cons, or there are those not so good points. With those not so good points, how will you actually transform them? How will you use them to your advantage? Diba? Nagkulang ka sa part na to dahil nga it went contrary to what you are planning for. But it went against it. So, what can you do? Work out those contrary points. Those contrary points, you change those contrary words to a positive note. And who knows, there might be something new that you'd be able to discover along the process of what you're doing there. Okay, Joanna?
Thank you, Sir
Okay.
Ari. And last po, there is a private question here. Paano ka po ma-motivate kung laging sinasabi ng prof mo, ba't ka nag-enroll ngayon kung di mo pala kaya mga due date ko? Next sem ka na mag-re-enroll? And paano mo po i-approach ang prof kapag ganito siya?
Okay, so you're talking about a professor asking you your reasons of enrolling. In the first place, you yourself I'm saying have, did not had, it's not had or not will have. You have that opportunity for you to recognize yourself na dito. Kung hindi mo kaya yung due date ni teacher, in the first place, try reaching out to that teacher. Okay. Try explaining yourself to the teacher. Ma'am, sir, hindi ko po kasi ma-meet ang deadlines kung ganito kasi sabi mo may for one, you have internet connectivity issues. Okay, second, you are not able to meet the deadline or the due dates because you have responsibilities also. But that responsibilities has to be also responsible enough for you to be guided on what you have to accomplish. Pero more importantly, it's actually reaching out on a personal level to your teacher also. Okay, that personal level that will allow you where you can meet halfway. Diba? Or like what you just did today is already a courageous, and I admire you, dear participant, okay, that you are able to express your concern. Okay, if the teacher would still insist or the professor would still insist, okay, and tell you na mag-re-enroll ka na lang, sabihin mo sa teacher na yon, you are given this opportunity for the both of you to grow and learn from one another. Hindi mo hahayaan na dito, teka lang, dahil nga may deadline ka, sure, we respect the deadline of your teacher. I myself also tells that to my students. You have to respect my deadline, but if you are having that difficulty, tell me, and let's see what we can work out together with. Because that will not make you lesser of a person. It will not make you lesser of a person to actually recognize that, wait, I know that I have these difficulties. What will I do, and what can I do with these difficulties? Even though you have a challenging professor, or even though you have a challenging task ahead of you, okay, if you know that you're actually able to verbalize or express your concern, then I think that would be already an avenue for you to communicate well and better with your professor. I hope I have answered you, my dear participant. Okay, next one. Thank you, Ma'am Tin.
Thank you, Sir Ari, for that wonderful answer. We have a last student asking something privately. Kindly
Okay,
type it in the chat box already. Or you can also
okay,
unmute your mic, yes.
Hello.
okay.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Hello, Ma'am Kenzie.
Yes po. Hello po.
Hi. Yes, I have a question, but I don't think it's relevant. But you mentioned a while ago regarding virtual space. So my question
Mhm.
is like this. How do we go about the virtual space moving forward? Or how will this affect the face-to-face learning if ever we return to face-to-face? So
Uh,
yeah.
okay, Ma'am Candy. Okay, it's like this. The transition from the virtual space to going back, or eventually what we will call later on probably blended already when we get to in person already. This transitions between in person is actually face to face. Wait, just a point of correction. When we talk about face to face, this is actually still face to face. But rather,
Okay.
when we talk about being inside the classroom again, we will call it already in person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nonetheless, okay. Point here is the transitions between a virtual space and an in-person space will tell us actually already a recognition of what spaces there are for interactions. We would already be able to distinguish and differentiate that in-person classes will tell us that we know how to extend our communication lines already of how we deal with other people. We know how that because we are in person, we are facing that person face to face
Mm-hmm.
physically, we give an opportunity to recognize, oops, this was pre-pandemic. But
Mm-hmm.
now that it's going to be post-pandemic, if so to speak, okay, what what is this opportunity? What is this opportunity for us that we all came from an online platform or in a virtual space platform? That virtual space platform ba, ano ang naging results nito? How did it strengthen our interconnections? So that when we bring it to the in-person platform already or in-person dimension that we're going to have, this is already what we all sought for after all. Diba? Na parang tag dito, after the almost 9 months already past this COVID-19 restrictions, what can we do actually to strengthen more these interrelationships that we're going to have, especially when we're going to have already an in-person interaction. There, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Kuya.
Sure, my dear Candy.
Thank you so much, Sir Ari. So hopefully what we have learned from online learning will be brought to in-person learning, according to Sir Ari.
Yeah.
So there are no more questions. So if there will be
I
no more
think there's one more, ma'am. I saw
questions,
one more who privately sent me a message, ma'am.
okay po, sir. Sige po. Kindly read na lang
Mm,
po the question and then answer.
sige, sige, ma'am. Our teacher before said that two heads is better than one. True naman. That's according to your capacity. Than studying alone. That's according to your capacity. Yes, your teacher might have said that in accordance to, say, for instance, one, if you are in a group work, example, locus it's a word synonymous to location. Okay, location. Where is your area of concern? Is it an internal concern, or what we call an internal locus of control, or an external locus of control, because you are not able to control it. It's an outside force out there. Diba? But if you take note of yourself, Teka, okay, again, why are you learning? Diba? All of you here are already college participants. Okay, as compared to my senior high school participants, of course. As college participants, you know that you don't ask yourself already why are you going to school? Actually, I just had recently concluded also a lesson about this in my what's this, understanding culture, society, and politics subject. It's no longer you ask of the question, why do you go to school? But rather, why do you learn? Whether it's going to be many more physical heads around, okay, that you do brainstorming, you do collaboration, you do corroboration, you do group work, you do cooperative learning. But what is there that you are not considering, or you're missing out in considering? You yourself, who is actually a transformer of your learning. When I say you know what's the purpose of a transformer inside a household. And you, okay, you as a transformer of learning should light up many opportunities you not only grow and go and even glow better as a learner. And that will help you later on as a future professional someday. Okay, I hope, my dear participant, I also have responded to your question.
Thank you, Sir Ari, for again another wonderful answer to the question of our students. If there are no more questions from our dear participants, before we end, let me present this certificate of appreciation to Mr. Ari Bisquera. So let me read the content. Certificate of appreciation is presented to Mr. Ari O'Neil B. Bisquera for his invaluable service as a resource speaker in the webinar, Staying Motivated and Productive for Online Classes on November 23, 2020. Presented at the University of the Cordilleras, Baguio City, 23rd day of November 2020, signed by Ms. Faith M. Grothkopf, RGC, Director of the Guidance and Counseling Office, and Dr. Rodora A. Nolob, the Vice President for Academic Services. Once again, thank you so much, Sir Ari, for sharing your invaluable knowledge. And I am confident that our students have learned a lot and that they will be able to apply what they have learned from this learning session or from this short webinar. Thank you so much. And to everyone, kindly answer the evaluation form using your UC email, and afterwards we will be presenting or sending your personal certificate to your emails.
Okay, thank you very much po. Ma'am Tin, you are on mute. I think you have an instruction.
Thank you po, and we'll see you on our next webinars.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if you have any more questions, just feel free to while we are still online, since I think there are still those who are answering the survey form. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Diane. Okay.
If you're done with the evaluation and if you don't have any questions, you may already leave the webinar. Thank you so much for attending. Again, we will see you soon.
Thank you, Ma'am Tin.
So much, Sir Ari. See you din po.
True. Thank you, Ma'am Faith. Thank you, Sir Nat. Thank you, Sir Greg. Thank you, Sir Sam. Thank you, Sir Elds.
On behalf of the Guidance and Counseling Office po, thank you so much. We'll see you soon, Sir Ari.